Hey guys, Jamstrap here, and welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to be showing you guys how I go about making indestructible snow bases. So I'm going to break this down into two, maybe three phases. So in the first phase, I'm going to be building the base up, doing the sand, the rocks, all that kind of stuff. And then showing you how to make not only snowy bases, but any base indestructible. Just a couple tips that I use that I'm not sure many people do. Then the second phase, I'll be going on to painting and putting the snow and the grass and all that kind of stuff on there, the fun stuff. And the last phase, I'll just be giving you a showcase of the finished result, but also a couple of examples of previous bases I've done, like big dreadnought ones and stuff like that, so you can see the kind of results you can get. Alright, so here's some of the stuff that you're going to need before we begin. So firstly, you're going to need some sand. Well, some people use like texture paints and stuff like that, but yeah, if you've got some sand, just use that. Then you're going to need some sort of grass. You can use grass flock. I've used it quite a lot. You can just chuck a bit of super glue on the base, throw the flock on there, and it works pretty good. But for what I'm doing, I'm using these kind of grass tufts. So yeah, you might want to pick some of these up. They don't have to be Citadel versions, just wherever you can get them from. They're kind of fancy and they work well for the base that I'm going to be showing you guys. And of course, last but certainly not least, you need some sort of snow. Now, I do have some snow flock, and you can use it if you want. You get quite a lot of it for quite cheap, but I've never really liked the effect it gives. It really depends on a lot of factors. It's a lot of trial and error with getting the result you want. Mixing it with different glues gives you different effects. Like if you mix it PVA versus super glue, or put in the glue down first or put in the glue on top of it, it gives you really different looking snow. So you have to mess around with it. So you can get a couple of old bases and mess around, mixing it up and seeing what you like. I mean, it is very helpful to get some cool different looking results of snow, but for easy consistent looking snow, I just go for the Valhallan Valhallan Blizzard. I mean, that stuff is great. I've been using it for all my Space Wolves. You just scoop it out, slap it on the base, and you're done. And of course, you're going to want some super glue and PVA. So that's pretty much everything you're going to be needing for this. Oh, and before we get cracking, another thing you might want to consider getting, depending on the kind of base you want to portray. I mean, the bases do kind of define where your characters and your army are based, and they're kind of theme. But yeah, you can get some cork like this. You can snap it off, build it up to look like concrete slabs. It doesn't really look like stone that much, but it can work. But I mainly use it for like city bases, building up blocks of concrete and broken down walls and stuff like that. But for these guys, considering that they're going to be covered in snow and that you don't really need anything on the base, but I normally put a bit of stone in that to just give it a bit of like a different level and just makes it a bit more interesting to go along with the snow and the grass tufts. So if you want a little bit of extra on your base, maybe grab some cork or slate chips like this. But for this video, I'm going to chuck a little hefty stone on that. And then I'm just going to build up some like stones and stuff around that. So now I'm just going to kind of feel where I'm going to put the stone on this thing. Yeah, that seems like the obvious place to do it, but I think I'm feeling it over here. Get a nice little bit of super glue on there. And don't forget to glue it on the flattest part. Gives you a better surface area, obviously. Try and get it to where you want it before it dries, unlike me, because this thing's pretty much stuck instantly now. Everything seems like 10 times more difficult when you're doing it on camera. And now you can see there's like ridges and gaps at the bottom of this, which doesn't really matter too much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up some like stones and stuff around it just so it blends into the base a bit better. So yeah, if you do buy a bag of slate, normally at the bottom of the bag you'll get like really small pieces or like kind of dusty bits. So yeah, that's what I'm going to kind of do. I'm going to drizzle super glue all the way around there and then just chuck the little small bits over it. Then you just flick it at the bottom of the base like that, and it just gets rid of all like the loose bits and stuff. So usually I wouldn't put that much on there, but once again, when you're trying to do things on camera, it's a bit difficult to get things as smooth as you'd want. but it's cool enough and it'll look good once you've got the sand blended in there as well. One thing as well is if you're doing an entire army like this, don't worry too much about building up fancy bases for every single troop dude. Maybe just keep most of it for like your sergeants and your HQ characters and that. Because once you got like snow and maybe a cross stuffed or something like that, it's pretty much fine for like a troop dude. It covers up most of the base. I was actually going to make a video on how to do bigger bases as well to make them super fancy. So maybe comment below if you want me to make a video like that as well. But today's all about the basics, so get an old ass paintbrush like this and let's start slapping on some PVA glue. As you can see, this thing's pretty much rock hard. And yeah, you want something pretty small so you can get around like the feet and stuff like that without getting glue everywhere. Alright, got my little PVA glue cap here. I know it looks pretty disgusting, but it's been through a lot of use. So just work your way around. Try not to get on the rocks too much. There's no point in hiding them all. You can dab here and there just to kind of blend it in a little bit more though. Okay, so I've got it everywhere now. And the main thing with PVA glue, and I see a lot of people make this mistake because sometimes they don't have sand on the edge of the bases. You can even see it on this base a little bit. But PVA glue kind of tries to retract on itself when it's sat for a while, especially when if you're doing bigger bases. So when you finish putting glue everywhere, you want to go back over the edges of the rim and just pull that glue back out to the edges so you can get a nice coverage all the way up to the end. But quickly grab your dude. Now what I do is just throw your sand to one side there, pop him in there, and there you go. And again, flick off all the loose bits, but yeah, definitely don't blow on it unless you're outdoors. Then what you want to do is just run your finger around the edges just to get off like little loose bits and dust and all that kind of stuff. And now you can see there's a nice even coverage all the way to the end if I don't push it back in, and it's also all blended in with the rocks nicely now. Don't worry too much about getting dust around the legs and stuff like that. Once the glue and everything's dry, you can just dust it off with a paintbrush or something like that. But another little tip, so when you're obviously putting the glue on and everything, you'll get some sand up on the feet. And what you do is you just take the blunt side of your hobby knife and you just gently kind of push it back down into the base. And that way as well, it kind of looks like he's, you know, stepping into the ground. The earth is moving around his feet. And that's also a reason why I like doing the base with the model glued on, because it kind of just feels like it's a bit more interactive than just gluing it on top of the sand once you're done painting. And also it's never really made sense to me because I don't think it would be very strong, gluing your model to some sand. I feel like you drop it on the floor to just snap off. So yeah, just keep flicking the sand off the feet and stuff like that, and as you can see, it's looking better already. And don't worry if there's a little bit left over when you're done. It just might add to the whole natural fitting of it all. But yeah, I'm going to let this dry and then I'm going to get to the next step. So usually when I get to this point, I'm normally doing like a whole squad or a whole army, so I'll let them dry overnight or at least for a couple hours before I get to the next step. But for the sake of this video, and it's only one dude, I'm just going to get to it now. So what you want to do is you want to get some PVA glue and mix in a tiny bit of water. Maybe not as runny as I've got it here, but yeah, you don't want it to be thick and gloopy. And we're going to use this to basically just seal in all that sand. So we've got the bottom layer holding it down, and we just put a nice smooth cover over the top just to lock everything down. Yeah, I've seen people they just do the one layer of PVA glue, and either the sand is just really grainy and like falls off gradually, or I've actually seen worse cases where because PVA just turns into like a rubbery layer, it just kind of peels right off. And if that wasn't enough, I've actually got the final step after this, which really seals the deal. But first, let's dab this on here, and emphasis on dab, because PVA glue when it gets wet it can kind of peel back off again. So what you want to do is you just want to gently dab it into places and don't go over it again either once it's kind of sat there for a while. Let's see if I can not mess this up on camera. I probably will. Yeah, see already that's probably too much because this is quite watery. Like I said, I probably should have put a bit more PVA glue in there. So yeah, just work your way all the way around the base, around the edges and everything like that, and get on those rocks a little bit as well, or whatever you've got on the base just locks it in quite nicely. Okay, so that's done now. Just kind of wait for it to dry, and then we just get to the final step. Okay, so that's done and dry. That's pretty solid on its own now. As you can see, I'm hitting it there quite hard and nothing's coming off there. And the last thing, to really sandwich this bad boy up and get it super strong so you don't knock any of those edges off or break any pieces off there, you simply want to get some super glue, preferably the liquid kind, not the gel kind. I mean, you can use it, I've used it before, but that one's just a lot easier to use. So all you want to do is just go around the edges with this, you know, just gently go around it, and it'll make those edges rock hard. And usually if you got like a pebble or a rock or something you think that might get flicked off or broken, just put a drop of super glue on top of that as well. But because the ones I've put on there, I put them on there with super glue and they've got PVA glue over them as well, they should be fine. I might just put a little drop there and there just for the smaller pieces. And there you go. Now the edges of this thing will have a bit of a different texture because of the super glue, but once you've got your snow and all that kind of stuff on there, you won't really notice it. I mean, it's not that noticeable anyway. So once you've let the super glue soak into the sand and dry up, you've got pretty much an indestructible base right there. You can do this for pretty much anything. I'm not sure how well it will work for like textured paints like the cracking stuff and that. I've never used those ones, but you can give it a go if you want to. And I mean, that's not even the final level. I mean, we're still going to be putting like 1 or 2 coats of primer on there. There's going to be a couple layers of paint, and you're going to have the snow. There's going to be a lot more, so this base really isn't going anywhere. So anyway, that's the first part done. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and paint this model up first before I continue, because I'm actually going to be making a video of how I paint my like heresy style space wolves. But for you guys it's just going to be a second, so I'll be back in a minute. Well, a second. So my model is almost done being painted out, and we're going to carry on with the floor. Now I normally start off with dryad bark because I'm kind of going for like a dark earth, you know, the melting snow kind of vibe. But at this point, whatever colors you want to go for is completely up to you. Now you can water your paints down like you normally would, but for this stage I just slap it on straight out of the pot. So just get a poopy paintbrush and get started. And again, straight out of the pot, I'm going to go for Mechanicus Standard Grey for my stones, but once again you can go for anything you really want for your stone colors. And once those 2 colors are dry, I'm going to hit it with some Arax Earthshade. Alrighty, so that wash is dry, and for the next step I'm going to be dry brushing Sylvaneth Bark. And to be honest, there's no real rhyme or reason why I use this color, it's just something I had nearby and it kind of matches the tone that I was going for. And once that's done, I'm going to go over with a light dry brush of white, because obviously it's a snowy base, so where you're not putting snow, at least it'll kind of blend it in a bit more. Kind of looks like there's some snowy flakes lying around. Now I'm sure you guys probably know how to dry brush at this point, but I've got one little hint / tip for you on this one. So when you're dry brushing with this, you don't actually want to be neat. You want to try and hit those feet a little bit, so it actually like incorporates the model into the base a bit more. It kind of builds a gradient between the model's color and the floor, so it really like kind of dirties it up a bit more and it looks like it's part of it. So yeah, don't be shy, just go at it. Yeah, I don't think the camera is really picking it up, but you can definitely see it's starting to blend in there a bit. But you do want to be a bit neater when you do the white part. You don't really want to be building up the white on the feet too much. So I'm going to finish this brownie dry brush, then I'm going to do the white dry brush, and then I'm going to get back to you guys. Alright, so that's the dry brushing done. As you can see, I probably went a bit too over the top with the white, like I told you guys not to do. But once you've got the snow on there, it'll look fine. So now I'm going to stick a little tuft of grass in there, then we're going to slap the snow on, paint the rim, and then we're pretty much done. So I've got my Citadel grass tufts over here. But like I said before, you can have any sort of grass you want for this stage. Got my pointy tweezers for the tuft. Obviously I got my snow ready. And once again, you're going to need a paintbrush you don't really care too much about. So I'm going to pick a tuft now. Obviously this base doesn't have too much space on it, so I'm going to choose a small one. Pop a bit of super glue on the bottom there. Now you just got to find a place you want to put it. So I can put it here by the rocks, or I can put it in the back somewhere. And then just let it dry a little bit and work the the grass a little bit, you know, just make it stand up. Sometimes when you press it down to glue, you can kind of flatten it out. Now if you have some sort of like chisely, shovelly shaped thing, very small one, it might work better than a paintbrush, except for when we're trying to get like a bit of snow into the actual grass, then the paintbrush definitely shines there. And again, this is part you kind of have to do to taste. If you want your guys in a blizzard, then you're obviously going to cover the entire base in snow. But if that's the case, you probably didn't really need to do the stones and stuff like that. But for me, I'm going to go for the kind of the snow's melting, or because of the people running around in the heat of battle, you know, it's getting a bit slushy, that kind of thing. So I'm going to put quite a bit of snow on here, but not enough to cover the whole base up. So you want to put some like really thin bits or some really like thick sections, like I'm going to do at the back here. Then you just kind of want to work it so it looks a bit more natural and spread out. So yeah, thin the edges down. You don't want like just big old clumps. You kind of want it to taper out. Now throw it a little bit down this end, but you don't want big clumps everywhere. And what you do as well with the little excess bits you've got on your paintbrush, you just try and get some on the feet and stuff. So once again, it kind of like brings the model and the base together. Looks like he's walking through the snow. So you want to do like a clump and then a bit of a space and then a smaller clump and then a bigger clump, but kind of binding them together with like little sections in between, just making it look a little bit more natural. I usually pop some on top of the stones like that because it just seems like a good place to have it. So you get that like, you know, that extra height, little extra dimension to the base. And when you want to get some snow into the actual grass tufts and stuff like that, what you're going to do is, once your paintbrush is like almost empty and you've just got those like little loose bits in there, all you're going to do is just flick your paintbrush across there. And it also, while you're doing that, also helps raise the grass blades up as well. And there you go, you got some grassy tufts. So yeah, like I said, just get some big clumps, small clumps, you know, dab a little bit in between to connect them. And yeah, I'm going to finish this one off and get back to you guys. So yeah, that's done now. As you can see, you know, between the brown dry brushing and getting a bit of snow on the feet and all that kind of stuff, it really binds the two together a bit more. And I actually did like quite a big clump like against his foot, so it kind of looks like he's just stepped in a pile. And that's basically how I do my snow bases. So I'm going to paint this rim black, give you guys a little twirly showcase of it, you know, maybe get up some of the other models I've done before so you can kind of see different ways you can go about it and different results you can get. As always guys, thanks for watching, and if you liked it, you know what to do. Comment below what you think, or if you got any extra tips you can maybe give some people. And of course, if you enjoyed hobby content, I release quite a bit of it every single week, so maybe check out my channel and subscribe. But until then, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.